Hey there, survivors. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. It really helps me keep these stories coming. And while you're here, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now let's get started. I never planned on living the rest of my life on the George Washington Bridge. That stretch of concrete and steel used to just be another place I drove across every few days, hauling freight from New Jersey into New York City. I knew its lanes, its toll booths, and the skyline views, but it was never anything more than a way to get from one job to the next. Now, almost 2.5 years since the outbreak, it's my entire world. The bridge has become home for over 100 of us. It's where we sleep, where we grow food in raised beds full of trucked-in soil, where we build barricades and watch the water for signs of the infected climbing up from the river. We've turned it into something like a fortress, and yet every day feels like we're one mistake away from losing it all. Back then, I was a trucker. My name's Cal Riker, and I was on the New Jersey side making a delivery when the world came apart. I'd parked my 18-wheeler in a warehouse lot in Fort Lee when the first wave of infected swept through the city. The noise was like nothing I'd ever heard. Sirens, helicopters, crashes on the highway, and people screaming in the streets. Within hours, Manhattan looked like it was burning from end to end. No one really understood what was happening yet, but the news stations were already calling it an epidemic. By the time I realized it wasn't just another bad flu season gone out of control, people were flooding out of the city, trying to cross the river. I climbed back into my rig and headed for the bridge, hoping to get to a police checkpoint or some kind of organized evacuation. There was no checkpoint. The bridge was already clogged with abandoned cars and panicked drivers stuck in gridlock. Fires were visible on the Manhattan side, and you could hear the infected, those slow, mindless husks that had once been human, moving among the wrecks. It was chaos. I knew if I didn't do something, we'd all be trapped on that span when they reached us. So I pulled my truck across the lanes and jackknifed it sideways, blocking the road. It was a desperate move, and at the time I had no plan beyond surviving the next few minutes. But that one act changed everything. Other survivors joined me. Some had been stuck in their cars, others were on foot. We dragged more trucks and buses into place and sealed off both ends of the bridge as best we could. That was day one. We didn't have food or water figured out yet. We weren't thinking about long-term survival. We were just trying to stay alive while the city crumbled behind us. The bridge was already half destroyed. A few days earlier, the military had tried to bomb it to slow the flow of infected into New Jersey. One of the bombs had ripped through the upper deck on the Manhattan side, dropping 2 full lanes into the Hudson River below. But the second bomb hadn't detonated. It landed deep in the steel support structure and sat there like a ticking time bomb for days, leaking fuel. None of us could sleep knowing it was right under our feet, so eventually a few of us, me included, rigged up a forklift from an abandoned construction site and hauled the thing to the edge. We tied it off with chains and pushed it into the river. If it had gone off while we were moving it, none of us would be here to tell the story. After that, people started calling the bridge a safe place. Word spread, and more survivors began to arrive from both sides of the river. We let most of them in, though there were a few we didn't. Back then, we thought we could still choose who lived here and who didn't. It didn't take long to learn that every decision like that left a mark, and those marks never went away. The safe zone we built is still a patchwork of whatever we could find. Cars are stacked 3 high at both ends, welded and chained together into makeshift barricades. Shipping containers salvaged from the port of Newark line the middle span, converted into bunkhouses, storage rooms, and lookout towers. We ripped out guardrails and reinforced the sides with steel beams and scavenged concrete. Oil drums burn at night to light the deck and keep the infected from wandering too close. You can't hear much over the wind rushing through the suspension cables, but every once in a while the sounds from below rise up, the distant groans of the infected, and the splash of bodies trying to climb the supports from the water. They can't swim, but they don't stop trying. The infected haven't changed. They're the same now as they were in first days, slow, relentless, and unstoppable if you let them close the distance. We've seen them pile against the barricades until the weight of their own numbers knocked the cars over. 6 months ago, that happened on the Jersey side. It took 2 full days and more gasoline than we could afford to burn through the heap of bodies and reclaim the barricade. We can handle the infected most days, but people have become the bigger problem. 2 organized groups now surround us. On the Manhattan side, there's a gang that calls themselves the East Bank Holdouts. They've carved out a territory in Washington Heights and taken over whole apartment complexes. They're armed, they know the area, and they control most of the food supply left in that part of the city. On the Jersey side, in Fort Lee, there's a militia called the Palisade Guard. They fortified the high-rises near Main Street and built their own checkpoints. Both groups want the bridge. They want it because it's the only reliable crossing left, and controlling it would give them power over everyone in this area. For months, they've been circling like vultures, making demands and sending threats. We've refused to give in, and that's only made them bolder. I lead one of the scavenging teams. We take a pair of old box trucks into the city and hit whatever's left. Grocery stores, warehouses, hardware shops, anywhere that might still have something to take back. Most of the time, we come back with less than we left with. Food is getting harder to find, and ammo is nearly impossible. We grow what we can on the bridge, but it's not enough to feed everyone. Last week, we were ambushed near 181st Street. The holdouts opened fire from a rooftop while we were loading a truck with supplies. 2 of our people were gone before we even knew where the shots were coming from. I managed to get the truck into reverse and ram through a fence, but we left everything behind. When we got back to the bridge, we had nothing but bullet holes in the cab and a tire shredded down to the rim. While I was unloading the wounded, Maria, she's one of the leaders here, a former EMT, told me the Palisade Guard had sent a messenger while we were gone. They want us to start paying a toll if we use the Jersey approach. If we refuse, they said they'll cut off our scavenging routes and attack the bridge directly. It's not an idle threat. We're down to about half the ammunition we had 3 months ago. The barricades are rusting, and the generators that power our floodlights are nearly out of fuel. Every night is darker than the one before, and the infected gather in bigger numbers when the lights go out. I don't spend much time thinking about the people we've lost, but that's not because I don't remember them. I do. Every single one. Out here, you can't afford to dwell on the past because mistakes get people killed, and there's no way to undo them. Tonight, I'm on watch at the Jersey approach, sitting in one of the container towers and staring across at the ruins of Fort Lee. You can see the Palisade Guard's territory from here. Their fires burn in the windows of the towers they've claimed, little orange beacons against the night. The Hudson River moves quietly under the bridge, and every so often the wind shifts just enough to carry the sounds of the infected wandering along the shoreline below. They move like they're drawn to something, arms swaying at their sides, heads tilted like they're listening for a sound only they can hear. I can feel something building. You notice it in the way people move, the way they talk in hushed tones when they think no one's paying attention. We've been holding this bridge for 839 days, but I don't know how many more we have left. Earlier, Maria came up to me with news. One of the lookouts spotted a group of strangers hiding in the burned-out cars just off the Manhattan approach. She asked if we should send a team to drive them off, but I told her to wait and see what they do. I'm still not sure why I said that. Maybe I'm just tired of fighting everyone who gets too close. But now, as I sit here with an old 12-gauge shotgun resting across my lap, I can't help but think I might have just made the wrong call. The darkness on the Manhattan side is thick, the skyline just a black wall of crumbling towers in the distance. Somewhere far below, the infected move along the shoreline, their shuffling footsteps occasionally scraping rock or rusted steel as they follow the sound of the river. The bridge creaks with each gust of wind, the suspension cables whining in a way that always makes me feel like the entire structure is alive and in pain. I force myself to stay focused on the faint glow of the burned-out cars ahead, knowing that group Maria mentioned could be out there, waiting for the right moment. I glance down the deck toward the other watch positions. 2 of our people, Dennis and an older guy named Irving, are manning the tower near the center span. I can see the orange tip of a cigarette moving as Dennis exhales. Smoking on watch is stupid, but I don't bother telling him that anymore. Everyone has their ways of dealing with the pressure. I shift my weight and keep my eyes on the shadows at the Manhattan approach. Minutes pass with nothing but the sound of the river and the occasional distant groan from the infected. Then I catch a faint flicker of movement near the line of burned cars. Something quick and low to the ground. I bring the shotgun up slowly, resting it on the ledge of the container I'm using as a lookout post. My finger is on the trigger, but I don't fire. Whoever it is, they're careful. They stay out of the open and use the hulks of old vehicles as cover, pausing each time the wind gusts to mask their footsteps. I key the handheld radio clipped to my chest. Dennis, Irv, you see that movement at the Manhattan side? There's a crackle of static before Dennis's voice answers. Yeah, I got it. Looks like 3 or 4, maybe more. They're moving like they know we're watching. Don't shoot unless they get close, I say. We don't know if they're armed, and I'm not wasting ammo to scare off scavengers who might just be desperate. Dennis doesn't argue, but I hear him mutter something under his breath before the radio clicks off. I keep my eyes locked on the burned-out cars. Another flicker of movement. This time I can make out the shape of a person, crouched low and holding something that catches the light. A rifle or maybe a length of pipe. They vanish just as quickly, darting behind the husk of a van. I don't like how deliberate they are. It's not the usual panicked scavengers. These people know what they're doing. My gut tells me they're probing us, looking for weaknesses. I feel the bridge sway slightly beneath me as the wind shifts direction, and that's when I hear the noise I'd been dreading. The distant, unmistakable pop of a single gunshot echoing from the Fort Lee side. I snap the radio back on. What was that? A woman's voice answers this time. Lauren, who's stationed at the Jersey barricade. She sounds out of breath. We've got movement down here. At least a dozen trying to push up the south lane. Some of them armed. They fired a shot at the gate. It hits me like a punch. The group on the Manhattan side isn't just random strangers. This is coordinated. Someone's trying to hit both approaches at once. Lock it down and hold your fire unless you have to, I tell Lauren. We'll move people your way if we can. Don't let anyone breach the barricade. I slide down from the lookout post, landing hard on the deck, and sprint toward the center of the bridge. Dennis and Irving are already climbing down from their tower to join me. Dennis's face is pale in the firelight, and he's carrying an old AR-15 with a cracked stock. Who do you think it is? He asks as we run. Doesn't matter, I say. If they breach either side, we're finished. The main settlement is clustered in the central span, where the deck is the widest. Shipping containers form a ring around a few tents and makeshift gardens. By the time we get there, Maria is already shouting orders. A handful of kids clutch each other in the corner, wide-eyed and silent, while their parents grab whatever weapons they can. Maria spots me and waves me over. We're getting hit on both ends, she says, wiping sweat from her face with the back of her sleeve. The Palisade Guard on the Jersey side, and I'd bet anything those are the holdouts on the Manhattan side. They've finally decided to come for us. They're testing our defenses first, I reply. We can't stretch everyone thin. We need to decide which side we reinforce and which side holds with what they've got. Maria shakes her head. We can't give them either side. If one gate falls, the other won't hold. It's over if they get onto the bridge deck. I know she's right, but the reality is, we don't have enough fighters. Even with everyone armed, we're barely 50 strong, and many of those are older or inexperienced. I take a breath and start dividing people up, sending half toward the Manhattan side and the rest toward the Jersey barricade. I grab Dennis, Irving, and 2 others, Casey and Miguel, to come with me to the Fort Lee approach. As we move, the bridge feels different. The wind carries more than just the groans of infected now. I can hear shouts from the Manhattan side, followed by another sharp crack of gunfire. Someone screams, then the sound is cut off. By the time we reach the Jersey barricade, the situation is already bad. Lauren and 3 others are crouched behind a wall of scrap metal welded across the lanes. The Palisade Guard is in the shadows just beyond, taking potshots with rifles and moving closer each time we duck to reload. I can see shapes in the darkness. At least 15 of them, maybe more. Lauren pulls me down behind cover. They're trying to push the cars apart, she says, pointing toward the welded vehicles that form the main gate. I glance over the barricade and see 2 men in the Palisade Guard working with crowbars, prying at the weakest points where the rusted chains hold the wrecks together. We need to break up their momentum, I tell Dennis. Get some fire down on those two and buy us time. He leans over the barricade and opens up with his rifle. Short bursts that spark against the asphalt. One of the palisade guard drops immediately, a splash of movement collapsing behind the barrier. The other dives for cover. The rest of them respond with a volley of their own, bullets pinging off the scrap metal around us. Lauren flinches as a round ricochets close enough to tear a chunk of paint from the wall next to her head. I don't waste ammo on blind fire. Instead, I watch the gaps and wait for a target. When one of the raiders sticks his head up, I squeeze the trigger of the shotgun. The blast echoes across the bridge and he vanishes from sight. The palisade guard pulls back a few yards, regrouping behind a burned-out box truck just off the approach. They're not running. They're testing us, seeing how quickly we respond. I know they'll come back with more force, and when they do, we may not be able to stop them. I key the radio. "Maria, how's the Manhattan side?" Static crackles. Then her voice comes through, tight with tension. "We've got them pinned down for now, but they're pushing hard. We've already lost one. We can't hold much longer without more people." I look at the faces around me. Dennis is reloading, sweat dripping down his neck. Lauren's hands are shaking as she checks the magazine in her pistol. Casey and Miguel are silent, staring out at the dark as though it might swallow them. We can't spare anyone, but I also know Maria won't last without help. Before I can answer, the sound of something heavy slamming into steel echoes across the bridge. It's coming from below. I peer through a gap in the barricade and feel the blood drain from my face. The infected are here. Dozens of them have gathered at the base of the bridge supports, drawn by the noise and gunfire. They're clawing at the rusted steel, trying to climb. Most will fall into the water, but some will make it high enough to reach the deck. Once they do, it'll be chaos. We have to end this fight now, I tell Dennis and Lauren. If those things get up here while the palisade guard is still pressing us, we're finished. Dennis glances at the small supply of Molotovs we keep behind the barricade. We could drive them off for a while, light up the approach and make it clear they can't cross. I hesitate. Fuel is precious, but this might be our only chance to hold the line. I nod, and Dennis starts prepping the bottles while Miguel and Casey ready lighters. We wait for the palisade guard to push forward again. Then we lean out from behind cover and hurl the Molotovs as far as we can. The fire spreads fast, rolling across the asphalt and licking up the sides of the burned-out cars. The raiders scatter, shouting curses as the flames cut off their advance. One man tries to dash through but trips, and the fire catches his clothes before he can get back up. I force myself to look away as the flames consume him. The palisade guard retreats for now, but I know it's only temporary. They'll regroup and return with more numbers. I pick up the radio. "Maria, we've pushed them back on the Jersey side, but we can't hold this alone. We need to consolidate before they hit us again." Her voice is strained, the sound of gunfire in the background. "We're falling back toward the center. Get ready. We might be bringing the fight your way." I hold the radio in my hand a moment longer after she signs off, staring at the glowing ember of fire still clinging to the Jersey approach. The wind blows hard across the deck, pushing the smoke toward the city. I look past the barricade into the darkness and see the infected climbing in the firelight, using one another as footholds as they try to scale the bridge supports. They're slow, clumsy, but determined. Once enough of them get high enough, we'll be fighting on two fronts. Dennis crouches beside me, his face streaked with grime and sweat. "What's the call, Cal?" he asks quietly. "We can't hold here and meet Maria halfway. We'll be torn apart." He's right. We don't have the numbers. I weigh our options quickly. If we abandon the barricade too soon, the palisade guard could rush the Jersey side behind us and seize the gate. If we wait too long, Maria's group will be overrun before they make it back to the center. Neither choice is good, but staying here feels like suicide. We pull back, I decide. We can't lose the heart of the bridge. Fall back in an organized line. Casey, Miguel, keep eyes on those infected below. If one makes it up, drop it before it gets close. Dennis, help Lauren cover the retreat. We hold the line at the central containers. We move fast, sweeping the deck for what little gear we can carry. Molotovs are gone. Ammo is low. Lauren's pistol jams as she checks it, and she curses under her breath while clearing the slide. We leave the barricade smoldering behind us and hurry toward the lights of the settlement, a dozen figures silhouetted against the glow of the fire drums. The bridge groans with every footstep, the deck flexing slightly under our weight. It's an old structure, built to carry thousands of cars, but after more than 2 years of weather and neglect, even the smallest movement makes me wonder if it's still safe. The wind cuts through my jacket, carrying the smell of smoke, rust, and rotting flesh from the water below. As we approach the central span, we see Maria's group spilling out of the shadows from the Manhattan side. They're moving quickly, dragging the wounded with them. Gunfire cracks behind them, and I catch glimpses of the holdouts through the gaps in the wrecked cars at the approach. They're better armed than the Palisade Guard, advancing steadily and forcing Maria's fighters back. We close the distance and form a perimeter around the containers. Maria is shouting orders, her face set in a hard mask. Blood streaks her sleeve from a graze on her arm, but she doesn't stop moving. "We're outnumbered," she says without preamble as I reach her. "They're going to hit both sides at once, and the infected are closing in from below. We have to make a stand here, or the bridge is gone." I glance around at what we have left. A dozen fighters, maybe 15, scattered among the container towers and the makeshift barricades we built from welded steel. Most are exhausted and running low on ammunition. Behind us, the non-combatants huddle together in silence, knowing there's nowhere else to go. "We fortify this position," I say, my voice louder than I intend. "Everyone spreads out along the containers. Keep your fields of fire clear, and don't waste a round unless you're sure of the shot. If anyone gets close, push them back before they can breach the line. We hold the center of the bridge, no matter what." Dennis and Lauren take up positions on the east side, covering the Manhattan approach, while Casey and Miguel watch the Jersey side. Maria and I move between the groups, checking weapons and making sure people are in place. The bridge is quiet for a moment, the silence heavy enough to make the hair on the back of my neck prickle. Then the attacks begin. From the Manhattan side, the holdouts open fire with rifles, their shots tearing into the container walls and throwing sparks across the deck. From the Jersey approach, the Palisade Guard push forward again, this time in greater numbers. They're not worried about conserving ammunition now. They lay down steady suppressive fire, forcing us to keep our heads down. Bullets snap past my ear as I lean out to return fire. I catch one of the raiders in my sights and pull the trigger, the shotgun blasting a hole through the side of a burned-out car where he had been crouching. He drops, and another takes his place. The smell of gunpowder mixes with the acrid smoke from the barricades, making my throat burn. Maria shouts over the din. "They're trying to flank us. Keep the center sealed." I duck behind the corner of a container as rounds spark against the metal. The infected are climbing now, their moans growing louder as they haul themselves onto the deck. One reaches the edge and pulls itself over, a decayed figure in a shredded business suit. Miguel steps forward and drops it with a clean shot to the head, but another immediately takes its place. It's not long before the infected are everywhere. They push up from the sides and crawl over the wrecked cars, drawn by the noise and the smell of blood. We're forced to split our fire between the raiders and the dead, and that's when the line starts to falter. I see Lauren stumble as a bullet tears through her thigh. She collapses behind the barricade, blood pooling beneath her. Dennis drags her out of the line of fire while shouting for someone to cover him. Casey fires blindly toward the Jersey side to give them a chance, but it's clear we're being overwhelmed. Maria kneels beside Lauren, pressing a makeshift bandage to the wound. "We can't hold much longer," she yells, her voice hoarse. "I know," I snap back, "but there's nowhere else to go." The raiders sense we're weakening. The Palisade Guard make a concerted push on the Jersey side, using a truck as a battering ram against the barricade. Each impact shakes the containers around us, sending vibrations through the deck. On the Manhattan side, the holdouts have breached the outer line and are closing the distance fast. I fire until the shotgun runs dry, then switch to a pistol, aware that I have only a handful of rounds left. The infected are within arm's reach now, their hands clawing at the barricades, jaws snapping at the living. Maria hurls a flare into the mass of them, the bright red light momentarily disorienting the crowd. It buys us a few seconds, but that's all. One of the infected gets through a gap in the steel and lunges at me. I sidestep and slam the butt of the shotgun into its skull, feeling the crunch of bone before shoving it back into the crowd. The noise on the bridge is deafening. Gunfire, screams, and the constant roar of the wind through the cables. A container door bursts open behind me, and I whirl around just in time to see one of our youngest fighters, a kid barely 17, stumble out with a raider right behind him. The raider buries a knife in the kid's back before I can react. I shoot the attacker point blank, but it's too late. The boy collapses in my arms, his blood soaking into my jacket. I lay him down gently and force myself back into the fight. Maria is shouting again, ordering everyone to fall back toward the very center of the bridge. We're losing ground, and if we stay here much longer, the containers will become a death trap. Everyone back, I bellow, my voice straining against the noise. Pull to the inner line. We retreat slowly, firing as we go. The raiders push harder, sensing victory. The infected pour through every gap we leave behind, their numbers growing with every second. I glance at the cables overhead, swaying in the wind, and wonder how much more the bridge can take. By the time we reach the last defensive ring around the main bunkhouses, we're barely holding it together. The wounded are dragged behind the line, their faces pale in the firelight. The rest of us form a rough semicircle, weapons trained on the enemy closing in from both sides. Maria moves beside me, her expression grim. If they breach this line, that's it, she says. We'll be trapped on the deck with no way out. I nod, though I already know. There's no escape route, no backup plan. If the bridge falls, so do we. The wind picks up again, carrying the scent of burning fuel and decay. I raise the pistol and take aim at the nearest raider, knowing it might be the last shot I get. The man is rushing toward the container line, his body low, weapon out. I squeeze the trigger, and the shot cuts him down mid-stride, sending him crashing into the deck. Before his body even stops sliding, another raider takes his place, screaming as he fires blindly at our line. Bullets ping off the steel around us, and fragments bite at my face and arms. Behind the raiders, the infected push closer. Their guttural moans drown out the gunfire as more of them haul themselves up from the supports below, clawing over the wrecked cars and through gaps in the barricades. The bridge vibrates underfoot, each tremor a reminder of how fragile everything we built has become. "Keep them off the line," Maria shouts, her voice hoarse as she empties her rifle into the crowd at the Manhattan side. Dennis is beside her, firing short, controlled bursts with the AR-15, sweat dripping into his eyes. Lauren, pale from blood loss, is on the ground behind us with a tourniquet cinched tight on her leg, loading magazines for anyone who needs them. I fire again and again, each pull of the trigger bringing the pistol closer to empty. The raiders press forward from both ends, driving us back step by step. There's nowhere left to retreat to. Behind us is nothing but a cluster of bunkhouses, improvised gardens, and the people who can't fight, children, the injured, the elderly, huddled together and praying they're not next. A sudden scream rips through the chaos. I turn in time to see an infected woman, half her scalp missing, clamp her teeth into Casey's shoulder. He tries to shove her away, but more infected pile onto him, dragging him down as he disappears beneath a wave of grasping hands. Dennis moves to help, but I pull him back. We can't save Casey now. "We're out of time," Maria yells, as another volley from the raiders punches holes in the container wall, spraying us with splinters of rust and steel. The bridge shudders violently again, louder this time, a metallic groan that drowns out everything else. The fight pauses for the briefest of moments as everyone, living and dead, seems to sense what's happening. I look down and see cracks spreading along the asphalt, spiderweb lines cutting through the deck as if the entire bridge is splintering beneath us. "It's giving way," Dennis shouts, his voice panicked. "Fall back," I scream. "Get everyone to the western side, now!" There's no time to argue. We begin shoving the non-combatants toward the New Jersey side, away from the worst of the fighting. People stumble and trip in the dark, their faces pale and wide-eyed. Maria and I fire at anything that moves too close as we backpedal, the noise of the infected growing louder by the second. Then, with a sound like the earth itself tearing apart, a section of the Manhattan approach gives way. The deck collapses in a roar of snapping cables and falling steel. Raiders, infected, and anyone too close are swept down into the black water below. The shockwave throws me off my feet, slamming me into the container wall so hard I see stars. When I scramble back up, the entire Manhattan side is a jagged void. The raiders who survived the fall retreat, vanishing into the darkness. The infected don't retreat. They simply keep coming, crawling over the wreckage of their own dead as the remaining sections of the deck tilt at unnatural angles. We herd everyone we can toward the western half, but it's chaos. The bridge is cracked and uneven now, the deck sloping dangerously toward the gap. One man loses his footing and slides screaming into the void, vanishing before anyone can grab him. Others cling to whatever they can as we try to guide them toward the last intact stretch of the center span. "Get the wounded to the bunkers," Maria shouts as she helps Lauren hobble forward. The younger woman is barely conscious, her legs slick with blood. I move alongside them, covering our retreat as Dennis and Miguel form a rear guard. The infected don't care about the failing bridge. They crawl and stagger across the cracks. Even when the asphalt shifts beneath them, I drop 3 with quick shots, but there are too many to hold off. "Use the fuel," I yell to Dennis. "Light the eastern line before they reach us." He doesn't hesitate. He pulls the pin on a flare and tosses it into a line of spilled fuel along the deck. Fire blooms instantly, racing down the cracked asphalt and igniting the abandoned cars we used as barricades. The flames roar high, casting everything in a harsh orange glow. The heat is almost unbearable, but it forces the infected back for now, buying us a little time. We push the last of the civilians into the reinforced containers we use as shelters. They're not meant to hold everyone, but we have no other choice. People cram inside, clutching each other in the dark as we seal the doors and pile debris against the entrances to slow the infected if they get through. Maria collapses beside me, catching her breath. "We can't stay here," she says, her voice low and urgent. "If the bridge goes, these containers will go with it. We need another way out." "There isn't one," I tell her. "The Manhattan side is gone, and the Jersey barricade won't hold forever. Even if we make it past the raiders, the Palisade Guard will finish what they started. They'll take the bridge and everything we have left." Maria looks at me for a long moment. "Then we take it from them first," she says finally. I don't ask what she means. I already know. The Palisade Guard are regrouping at the Jersey approach, waiting for the right moment to sweep across and finish us off. If we let them, everyone on this bridge will die. The only chance we have is to push them back before they can launch another attack. I gather Dennis, Miguel, and the few others still able to fight. "We hit them hard and fast," I say, my voice steady even though my hands are shaking. "If we can break their line and take their weapons, we might hold long enough for the infected to thin out." Dennis nods grimly, checking the chamber of his rifle. Miguel tightens the strap on his shotgun. We move as one toward the Jersey side, stepping carefully over the cracks in the deck as the bridge groans beneath our feet. The Palisade Guard are waiting for us. They open fire as soon as we clear the containers, forcing us to dive behind a burned-out bus for cover. Bullets rattle through the windows and tear chunks out of the steel around us. "Flank left," I shout, signaling Dennis and Miguel to circle around the wreckage while I lay down fire from the right. It's risky, but if we stay pinned, we're dead. Dennis makes it halfway before a round catches him in the side. He stumbles, blood soaking into his shirt, but he keeps moving, dragging himself behind a barricade. Miguel reaches him and hauls him the rest of the way. I step out from cover and fire, each shot precise and deliberate. One raider drops, then another, their bodies tumbling over the makeshift barricade of wrecked cars. Maria joins me, firing in short bursts until her rifle clicks empty. She doesn't hesitate to grab a fallen raider's weapon and keep going. The fight is brutal and close. We trade fire across the narrowing space, the deck slick with blood and rain blown in from the river. I see Miguel go down with a cry as a bullet grazes his leg. Dennis is barely conscious, clutching his side and gasping for breath. But we push forward. One raider breaks and runs, and that's all it takes for the rest to falter. We press the advantage, driving them back step by step until they retreat toward the Jersey shore. For the first time all night there's a lull. I stand in the center of the approach, pistol hanging limply in my hand, and watch the Palisade Guard disappear into the ruins of Fort Lee. The infected are still out there, milling around the edges of the firelight, but they're slower now, distracted by the bodies left behind. Maria comes up beside me, her expression grim. "We bought ourselves a few hours, maybe less," she says. "They'll be back, and the holdouts won't sit still on the other side forever. And the bridge?" I glance down at the cracks beneath our boots, the deck still trembling faintly. We're standing on borrowed time. "We get everyone ready," I tell her. "We patch up the wounded, gather what we can carry, and prepare to move. If this bridge goes, we need a plan for where to go next." Maria nods slowly, though there's no conviction in her eyes. We both know there's nowhere else safe to go. As we walk back toward the containers, I catch sight of the faces of the survivors we fought so hard to protect. They're huddled together in silence, eyes wide, clutching whatever they own. Many of them look at me as I pass, searching for answers I don't have. I force myself to meet their eyes, though I can't offer any reassurance. My clothes are still wet with blood and rain, and I'm limping slightly from a bruise that stretches from my hip to my knee. There's no hiding the fact that we barely made it through the night. Maria is already checking on the wounded as I step inside the largest container. Lauren is lying on a cot near the back, her leg wrapped tight with bandages that are already spotted through with fresh blood. Dennis is propped against the wall nearby, pale and breathing shallowly, clutching at the wound in his side. Miguel sits next to him, his own leg bandaged, sharpening the edge of a knife in silence, as though he needs to keep his hands busy. "How bad?" I ask Maria quietly. She doesn't sugarcoat it. "Worse than it looks. We've got 3 who won't last the night without better supplies. Dennis might make it if the bleeding stops. But Lauren..." She glances at the girl's leg, then back at me. "She needs proper care. We don't have the equipment, and we're running out of antibiotics. Infection's already setting in." I close my eyes for a second, feeling the weight of it. We used to have enough medicine stockpiled to at least handle wounds like this. But months of scavenging in the same areas left us stripped bare, and the few remaining pharmacies and clinics had been picked clean long ago. "We're not going to find anything if we just sit here," I say. "We need a run, and soon. The Palisade Guard will regroup, and the holdouts are still out there waiting. But if we can hit a supply depot, maybe we can save at least some of the wounded." Maria gives me a look that says she's already thought of that. "Where? Everything close to the bridge is burned out. And you know what's beyond the river. The dead are thick out there, and the raiders will be patrolling every street." She's right, but I can't accept that we have no options. "We can try the hospital in Englewood," I say after a moment. "It's farther than we usually go, but last I heard, no one wanted to get near it. Too many infected inside. If it's still standing, it might have something we can use." Maria nods slowly, weighing the risk. If it's been untouched this long, there's a reason, but it might be our only shot. I spend the next hour organizing what's left of our fighting group. Dennis is in no condition to move, so I take Miguel, Casey's younger brother Noah, barely 20 but steady with a rifle, and 2 others, Hannah and Gregor. Maria insists on coming too, even though she hasn't slept in more than a day. We're armed with what little ammunition we have left, a pair of bolt cutters, and 2 backpacks for anything we might salvage. Before we leave, I gather everyone in the central container and lay it out plainly. If we're not back by dawn, you move the survivors off the bridge. Don't wait for us. Head west. Avoid the main roads. And don't try to hold this place any longer. The bridge is failing, and the next attack will finish it. No one argues. They all know it's true. As I step out into the cold night, I catch Maria watching the group with the same heavy expression I've seen on her face too many times before. The look of someone who knows she might not see them again. We slip down the Jersey approach in silence, moving quickly through the wreckage of cars and barricades. The Palisade Guard didn't return after we pushed them back, but we know they're out there. Every shadow could hide a raider. Every alley could hold a cluster of infected waiting to grab the unwary. Fort Lee feels like a ghost town. The buildings loom dark and hollow, windows shattered, sidewalks cracked and overgrown. We pass through Main Street without incident, but the silence makes it worse. At least when you hear the infected, you know where they are. Out here, you just imagine them in every shadow. As we cross into Englewood, the smell hits us first. Even after all this time, the stench of decay clings to the hospital grounds. We climb over a chain-link fence topped with rusting barbed wire, our boots crunching on broken glass. The main entrance is blocked by a pile of cars that must have been pushed there months ago, maybe as a desperate attempt to keep people out. We circle around to a side door and find it chained shut. Miguel cuts through it with the bolt cutters, the metallic snap echoing far too loudly in the stillness. Inside, the air is thick and stale. We sweep our flashlights across the lobby, illuminating overturned gurneys, dried pools of something dark on the tile, and signs pointing toward the emergency ward. The silence is absolute except for the occasional creak of the building settling. "Stay close," I whisper. "If we get separated in here, we're done." We move methodically through the hospital, checking each room for supplies. Most of the shelves are bare, but we manage to find a small stash of antibiotics in a locked cabinet, along with a few bandages and syringes. It's not enough, but it's something. As we're packing the supplies, Noah freezes. "I hear something," he says, his voice low. I kill my flashlight and listen. At first, I hear nothing. Then, faintly, the dragging shuffle of footsteps somewhere deeper in the building. The sound is slow but steady, the telltale rhythm of the infected. "Move. We're not staying to find out how many." We retrace our steps toward the side door, but as we reach the hallway leading out, a figure lurches into view. Its face is bloated and discolored, jaw hanging at an unnatural angle. It's followed by another, and another, until the corridor is filling with bodies drawn by our movement and the faint sound of our boots on the tile. Miguel fires once, dropping the first infected, but the gunshot brings more. Doors slam open along the hallway as the dead pour out, arms reaching, voices moaning low and guttural. "Go!" I shout, pushing Noah ahead of me. "Back to the door." We sprint for the exit, shoving through the narrow hallway as the infected close in from all sides. Hannah trips on a loose cord and barely regains her footing before one of the dead grabs her sleeve. She tears free and keeps running, but now they're almost on us. Maria reaches the door first, yanking it open just as we barrel through. We spill out onto the hospital grounds, the cold air shocking after the stifling interior. Miguel slams the door shut behind us and jams a length of rebar through the handles to slow the infected. We don't stop running until we're halfway back to Fort Lee. Only then do we risk slowing down, lungs burning from the exertion. We take stock quickly. Everyone is alive, and we've got the supplies, but it's clear we can't keep doing runs like this. One mistake and we'll all be gone. When we finally reach the bridge, the sight stops us cold. The central span is swarming with infected, their silhouettes moving in the firelight from the oil drums. They must have climbed up while we were gone, drawn by the noise from earlier. We can't reach the containers without fighting our way through. Maria curses under her breath. "We don't have the ammo for this," she says. I scan the edges of the bridge, looking for any way to get around the horde. There isn't one. The only option is to go straight through and hope we can cut a path to the survivors still inside. The infected are scattered across the deck in a restless mass, dozens of them wandering between the burned-out cars and the flickering oil drums. Some are feeding on the fallen raiders from the last attack, their shoulders hunched, heads buried in the corpses like they're tearing at scraps of meat. Others are simply standing still, swaying slightly, their jaws working silently as if they can taste us on the air. "Stay tight," I tell the group, my voice low but firm. "Keep each other in sight. Don't waste ammo unless they're too close to stop any other way. If we go down one by one, we won't even make it halfway." Maria moves up next to me, gripping a rifle scavenged from a dead raider. "We can do this," she says, though her eyes are fixed on the horde ahead. "We just have to stay moving." Noah is trembling as he checks his magazine. He's the youngest, and his brother Casey didn't make it. I catch him staring at the infected like he's imagining which one killed his brother. "Stay behind me," I tell him. "Watch our flanks, but stay close. Got it?" He nods quickly, swallowing hard, and I take the first step onto the deck. The crunch of gravel and broken glass under my boot is deafening in the silence. A dozen heads snap toward us at once, and then the moans start. A low, guttural chorus that spreads across the horde as they realize prey has stepped into reach. "Go," I mutter, and we surge forward. The first infected stumbles toward me, arms outstretched. I let it get close, then drive the barrel of the shotgun up under its jaw and pull the trigger. The blast tears through its skull, and I shove the collapsing body aside to clear a path. Behind me, Miguel fires twice with his rifle, each shot dropping another of the dead. Maria uses the butt of her weapon to knock an infected to the ground before stomping on its head until it stops moving. We push forward in a tight formation, forcing our way through the press of bodies. The noise brings more from deeper in the horde, and soon we're surrounded on all sides. One lunges for Noah and he panics, firing 3 wild shots before Maria pulls him back by the collar. Another infected grabs at Hannah's arm, its nails raking deep furrows in her skin before I tear it away and bash its head in with the shotgun stock. It's like wading through a nightmare. The bridge feels narrower than it ever has, the press of bodies closing in until we can barely swing our weapons. I fire until the shotgun clicks empty, then switch to my knife, driving it into the temple of the closest infected and yanking it free in a spray of gore. My arms are aching, and my breath comes in ragged gasps, but stopping isn't an option. We break through the thickest part of the horde and finally see the containers where the survivors are sheltering. They're still sealed, the entrances blocked with debris, but there are infected clawing at the walls and doors, trying to break through. I feel a flicker of relief that the people inside are still alive, but that relief dies quickly when I see the cracks in the deck beneath their feet. The bridge is failing. Sections of asphalt are sagging visibly, the supports beneath groaning under the weight of too many bodies and too much damage. I realize with a sinking feeling that even if we clear the infected, there may not be enough structural integrity left to hold all of us. One more collapse could take everyone down into the river. "We can't stay here," I yell to Maria as we fight our way toward the containers. "We have to get them out." She nods, already understanding. "Clear the doors." Miguel and Hannah move to one entrance, hacking and shooting until the infected fall away. Noah and I take the other, cutting down anything close enough to touch the barricades. It's chaos, the dead swarming us faster than we can kill them, but eventually we manage to free the doors. "Get out!" I shout as I kick the debris away. "Move now!" The survivors spill out in a rush, clutching children, bags, whatever they can carry. Their eyes are wide and glazed with terror, but they don't freeze. They know staying put is death. Maria organizes them into a line, pushing them toward the western end of the bridge, where the last intact stretch leads to the New Jersey shore. I hang back with Miguel and Noah to cover the retreat. More infected are pouring onto the deck from the collapsed Manhattan side, climbing over wreckage and one another to reach us. I fire the last rounds of my pistol into the closest of them, then hurl the empty weapon at another's face as it gets too close. Miguel drops 2 more before his rifle clicks empty, and then he pulls his knife without hesitation. We fall back step by step, never letting the line break. Every time one of us stumbles, the others grab them and keep moving. The survivors ahead of us are slowing down, bottlenecking at a narrow section of the deck, and I can feel the infected getting closer with every passing second. "Move!" I bellow at the people in front of me. "Don't stop for anything, just keep going." We finally reach the last stretch of the bridge, the asphalt cracked and buckled but still holding. I glance back one last time and see the horde flooding across the deck, their sheer numbers bending the supports even further. It's only a matter of time before the bridge gives way completely. "Run!" I shout, and we do. The survivors pour down the Jersey approach, scattering into the ruins of Fort Lee. We keep pushing them forward, trying to put as much distance between us and the bridge as possible. Behind us, the groan of stressed metal becomes a scream, and I know what's coming even before I hear the deafening roar of the collapse. I glance back over my shoulder and see the central span of the George Washington Bridge tearing itself apart. Cables snap like gunshots, whipping through the air with enough force to cut a person in half. Asphalt and steel plunge into the black water below, taking hundreds of infected with it. The sound is indescribable, a rolling thunder that seems to last forever before finally settling into silence. When the dust clears, half the bridge is gone. What's left is a jagged ruin jutting out over the river, connected only by the section we're standing on. There's no going back now. I sink to one knee, exhausted, my hands shaking from adrenaline and fatigue. Maria comes up beside me, her face pale but set with grim determination. "We're alive," she says. as though saying it out loud will make it true. I look around at the group we managed to save. Fewer than half of the people who lived on the bridge are standing here now. Dennis didn't make it out. Neither did Hannah. Noah is sitting in the gutter with his head in hands. There's no time to mourn. The Palisade Guard will regroup as soon as they realize the bridge is gone, and the holdouts will be doing the same on the Manhattan side. Without the bridge, we're no longer in control of anything. We're just another band of survivors with no home and no supplies. We can't stay here, I tell Maria quietly. They'll come for us as soon as they know we're off the bridge. We have to move now. She nods, her jaw tight. Where? I don't have an answer, but I can't let her or the others see that. West, I say finally. Away from the river, away from the city. We find somewhere no one else has thought to claim yet. Somewhere we can survive. We gather what little we manage to save from the bridge and start moving through the ruins of Fort Lee. The streets are eerily quiet, but I know that won't last. There's no safety in this world anymore. Not for long. As we walk, I glance back one last time at the shattered remains of the bridge. For 839 days, it was our home, our fortress, our hope. We built a community there, fought for it, bled for it, and in the end, it still fell. I turn away before the weight of it can crush me. The only thing that matters now is keeping the people still alive on their feet and moving forward. We disappear into the ruins of the city, one more group of survivors in a world that has no mercy left to give. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more unsettling creepypastas. Your support keeps my channel alive. Until next time, stay quiet, stay vigilant, and trust nothing, not even the silence.